Dear students, in this video we'll discuss about class 6 second chapter traveling with grandfather's shoe, all possible extra question answer. Okay, so here the first mention all the characters from this humorous story. Here the first narrator, grandfather, grandmother, Aunt Mabel, tiger Timothy, parrot Pope, then squirrel Chips, python. The next name the pets that grandfather wanted to take with him. Why? Grandfather wanted to take a parrot, teenaged tiger and a small squirrel with him because they were moving from Dehra to Lucknow for some months. All the same, the journey was not without incident. Why does the narrator feel so? Mention in two incidents. The two incidents that were witnessed through the journey were Pope the parrot had nipped 2 fingers and tweaked a ticket inspector's ear, then Chips, his squirrel, emerged from his pocket to examine his surroundings. Okay. The next, Chief seemed to enjoy himself the most. Justify. Chief discovered that the train was a squirrel's paradise. Almost all the passengers had brought large quantities of roasted peanuts before the train pulled out. He had no difficulty in making friends with both children and the grown-ups. Then next, why was the train a perfect paradise for chiefs? The train was a perfect paradise for chiefs because everyone was traveling with roasted peanuts. Then next, what incident happened after midnight that woke up the narrator? Many passengers were in a frenzy as they had seen a snake, and the snake's movement had caused a huge clamor that woke up the narrator. Why couldn't the passengers get into the toilet? The passengers couldn't get into the washroom toilet because the python had curled off on the wash basin. Who held the passengers and how? The grandfather held the passengers by carrying the python away from the washroom. Then next, why did the narrator and his grandfather decide to take their pets to Lucknow? In those days, trains in India are not so crowded and it was possible to travel with a variety of creatures. Or in the second question, also same name the pets that grandfather wanted to take. So why did the grandfather wanted to take the pets with him? Because they are also moving from Dehra to Lucknow. Okay, so they had also some pets. That's why they did, and the narrator was also the lover of the animals. That's why the narrator didn't want to leave the animals alone. That's why they decided to take with them. Okay, here is also another reason we can write. In those days, trains in India are not so crowded and it was possible to travel with a variety of creatures. Then next, what was everyone's opinion about Timothy? Everyone agreed that Timothy behaved perfectly throughout the journey. What food did Granny make for dinner? The grandmother had prepared the grandmother had prepared sandwiches, boiled eggs, and a roast chicken and a gooseberry pie. Then next, why was there no sign of any cooked food in the basket? The python had finished all the food in the basket, therefore there is no sign of any cooked food. Then next, what did Granny say when grandfather returned to the compartment with pythons in his arm? Granny blamed it on the grandfather that it was he who had been hiding the python all along. For whom had the taxi been waiting? The taxi had been waiting for the family's arrival. Who had come to the station in the taxi? Aunt Mabel had to come to the station in the taxi. Name all the passengers seated in the taxi. The family tumbled into the taxi. Timothy got onto the back seat, leaving enough room for grandfather and the narrator. Aunt Mabel sat in front with grandmother, the tiffin basket on her lap. Then next, what happened when the lid of the basket placed on the breakfast table was removed? You can write here, when the lid of the basket which was placed on the breakfast table was removed. On seeing this, python, Aunt Mabel fainted. Then next, how did grandfather manage the situation after Aunt Mabel recovered? After Aunt Mabel recovered, the grandfather said to her that she was seeing things and the tiffin basket was empty. The python was an unplanned for traveler. How do you know that? The python was an unplanned for traveler. We know this from the lines. Mother had insisted that they should not take python with them. Grandfather had let it loose in the garden. Somehow it had managed to snuggle itself into the tiffin basket. From this, we know that the python was an unplanned for traveler. Then next, how was the peace of the passengers destroyed at night? How did the grandfather come to their rescue? Or why was there a commotion in the train? Okay, so this question already discussed in the exercise. Okay. At midnight, there was a great clamor at the end of the corridor. There were cries of "Samp, Samp." About a dozen passengers were bunched together outside the washroom door. Grandfather entered the washroom and found Python curled up in the wash basin. He gathered up the sleepy, overfed Python and stepped out of the washroom. Okay. Then next extract. Okay. My aunt Mabel was a school teacher in Lucknow. She was going to share our new house and she was terrified of all reptiles, particularly snakes. So what was the profession of Aunt Mabel? Aunt Mabel was a school teacher in Lucknow. Here my aunt refers to whom? So here my aunt refers to the narrator's aunt named Mabel. Name the creatures that Aunt Mabel afraid of. Okay, so you know she was afraid of all reptiles, particularly snakes. Then next extract number 2, we must not let grandmother see him. He said, she might think we brought him along on purpose. So who is the speaker and who is the listener here? Grandfather is the speaker and he is speaking to the narrator. Okay, so here the speaker is grandfather and narrator is listener. Who is him? Why must grandmother not see him? To him referred to here Python. Grandmother must not see him because she might think that they brought him along on purpose. What had he done? He somehow had managed to snuggle himself into the tiffin basket. The next extract number 3. In those days, trains in India are not so crowded and it was possible to travel with a variety of creatures. So what does the author refer to as those days? By those days, author refers to his childhood days. Where was the author going with whom? The author was going from Dehra to Lucknow with his grandfather and grandmother and also pets. And a variety of creatures. So here you know variety of creatures refers to, here you can describe about the pet of grandfather, grandmother and also narrator. So a variety of creatures in the above line, what does the author refer to? So by a variety of creatures, the author refers to that people can take their pet animals along with them. Okay. Then next extract number 4. Anything wrong? Asked grandfather casually. We can't get into the toilet, said someone. So where does this take place? It took place in the train. Why could people not get into the toilet? The people couldn't get into the toilet because there was a python. Why do you think? Grandfather asked the question casually. Grandfather asked the question casually because he was aware of python's presence in toilet. Okay. So these are all the extra question answers. I think this video will help you. If you have any doubt, you can comment in the comment box. Okay. Thank you.